What I will bring home from these really useful days here in Porto is like one thing is that I've actually gotten some relevant board training. I've gotten relevant theory of how actually a board should work, how a good board should work, and how to practice it actually. So I've even gotten to connect the theory that I had on day one to test it out in board simulations that were very close to reality, because it was actual cases that was without the actual name of the company, but it was still real cases of things that is typically brought through boards and discussions that where the board has to do something, has to have a discussion, has to make a decision. And I believe that that has in some way activated that theory into practice, and also activated some of sort of past experiences of like, oh, this is how I should have handled this, or this is how my board should have handled that. So being able to also reflect on afterwards, how should such a conversation look, and what is actually the board in charge of, like what is their role in these settings, not being operational, not being the one like the executive management being the operational role, but being the one who in some way looks a bit more ahead, has the role of looking into the future and having, of course, the best in mind for the future and the prosperity of the company and the ones involved, the stakeholders. So I think that it became more clear the actual value of a board that has been, to be honest, a bit unclear to me in a fast-paced startup scale-up environment where boards typically or very often has been complex conversations and discussions that has taken more time and effort to be in. Whereas now I also see that these are definitely valuable inputs and valuable discussions to have, to be able to grow not only fast but also with more longevity, with more sustainability, as long as, of course, the board is great and the board has relevant experience and capabilities. For me, coming from a startup community, very much like an international startup community, I think that what has been extremely valuable is that the community, the people who've been involved, have so much like extensive experience across so many different sectors, and also in other sectors and also other type of stage of a company life cycle than what I'm used to. So it was also nice to connect with that type of reality, and still have discussions that were as relevant from a startup standpoint as the more mature companies. But it's also been nice to know exactly what are the strengths and what is I actually like about the speed and the capacity to move fast and with your customers that the startup and the scale-up community has, where I feel like we have some good things to be able to connect on afterwards on how one can also leverage that type of capacity. I think it's been a nice international environment, very much different type of people in different type of roles across all types of sector across Europe. And that's not very often that I meet that. It's not at the relevant like typical event that I would go to. So I think that that has expanded my perspective on business, and expanded of course, my perspective on boards. We had a brilliant, really brilliant lineup of speakers, or I wouldn't even call it speakers, they've been contributors on a different level. People who have long experience in board positions, in headhunting for board positions, in running companies, and they haven't just been speakers, because it hasn't been a one-way conversation. It's been a discussion, and they've stayed around. So it feels very much like peers, peer-to-peer learning, And I think that's been quite unique, that we've had access to these really experienced board members who've been sharing their experiences, good and bad, even vulnerability. We've seen that they have shared of things that might even not, that is going to stay within those four walls, which has been unique because from stages, you normally only hear about the good stuff and the success stories. So I think it's been opening doors to real stories and real people. This program is relevant for anyone who wants to sit on a board and take a board position, who even the ones who already are sitting on a board with a board position. I think that this is highly relevant to actually get the handbook of how to and have the possibility to test out how one perceives how it is to be on a board and actually get it connected to theory. I think that even for those who have board experience, it's much more hooks to put it on. So it's more of a chicken and egg question here. Is it best to have the experience first and then come to the program to then connect and be able to be more active in discussion because you actually have experience? I think for that, for them, it's interesting, and it's also interesting for those who wants to pursue a board position who was not yet a board member. But that's going to be a different approach because it's going to be a lot of new experiences, new things, new theories, and I think that even would be relevant to come back again after experiencing stepping into a board and then coming back again and refreshing that experience. And that's why I also believe that the community is going to play a big role in the future at least for myself and for most people here. The active community of in the network that we've just met now, being able to then reconnect and share experiences afterwards so that we're going to be able to connect again on the learnings as we get into each our different boards. I think I wouldn't have been comfortable stepping into a board without this program. I feel much more equipped to step into that position with more confidence and also with a bit more curiosity rather than fear.